Welcome back into the Utes Football Digest. I'm Brian Ankrum. What I want to do today is go over the current state of the Utah football depth chart. Since we're in a bye week, got Cal coming up here in 2 weekends, I guess. So, unless you've been living under a rock the past couple months, you know that the state of the state of the depth chart has taken a significant hit over the past, I guess since fall camp. So past couple months, month and a half at least. So what we're going to do today is just go through each position, player by player, discuss what impact that has had currently, and possibly, is there some light at the tunnel after a bye week heading into Cal? Who's going to return? Who do we think is going to return? We obviously have no idea at this point in time, but what I'm going to do is just give my opinions on who I think will be there against Cal, what I think it'll do to the team moving forward. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so we're going to start off with the offense. That's everybody's focus at this point in time. So we're just going to go line item by line item here. X wide receiver, Money Parks. He's been in all year. So is Emery Simmons. Once this offense gets a little more solidified, I think we're really going to see Parks go off a little bit more. He's shown a ton of potential, towards the middle half of last year into this year. Just unfortunately haven't been able to get him the ball. So outside of him, we have Devon Vele, who he's been dinged up. I think one game he missed this year. It was the Weber State game, I believe. He's looked pretty good. He's continuing to get open. He's a good possession receiver for us. He's been solid the last couple years. Munir McClain is his backup. Unfortunately, he went out in Weber State, was seen in a boot. That's all we know. Have no idea on his return. I think Munir could be one of the breakout players on this Utah offense moving forward, especially into next year and the year after. All right, so Micah Pittman. This one has been interesting. He went out in the Baylor game, came back in, hasn't played since. So we don't really know what's happening with Pittman. If it's more just Cam related, if he's waiting for Cam to get back while he's nursing some injuries, we have no idea. So filling in his spot's been Mikey Matthews, done a great job. I mean, as a true freshman, he really has done well. We can't continue to keep putting the receiving load on his shoulders as a true freshman. I think if we put him in a more favorable spot moving forward, if we can get some of these guys back, he'll really shine. All right, so now we got Spencer Fano moving into the offensive line. True freshman starting at left tackle. He's had his ups and downs this year, like any true freshman would. It's probably the hardest position on the offensive line to play, protecting that quarterback's blind side. He did go out last game. He ended up coming back in and playing the next series, so that was positive. It looks like he got his leg or ankle rolled up on a little bit, but it was positive to see him come back and play. Haven't heard anything else, so let's assume he's good. We're not going to really go into many of the backups at this point in time, so we're just going to move forward. Into Keaton Bills, arguably our best offensive lineman last year. I think he's still got all the potentials. This offensive line just needs a little more. It needs to be a little more solidified moving forward. Johnny Maia at center. This one's a big one. He hasn't played a snap all year. He was injured during fall camp. What we do know is it was not a season-ending injury. Kyle Whittingham only talks about season-ending injuries, so I'm hopeful that he's going to be ready to go against Cal after this bye week. That'll be 6 full weeks of recovery time post injury, or actually probably 7 or 8 even, given that the injury happened during fall camp. Still have no idea what that injury was, but hopefully they're just planning on bringing him back after the bye week. That being said, if you look at the second team right guard here, Jaron Kump has been playing center. He's filled in admirably for Maia, but center is not his true position, and there's been some signs of struggle along the way. But the current right guard, Mokafisi, he's been in the whole time. He's had his fair share of struggles also. I think if Maia can come back, Kump and Moko can rotate in and out at right guard, keep them fresh. I think it would really help that offensive line moving forward if that were to happen. And now arguably our other best offensive lineman, highest graded anyways, which is Satao Lomea. He's a beast on the right side. He typically handles edge rushers with ease. This year he has had some struggles. We've seen him miss key blocks. We don't know exactly what's going on, if it's a scheme issue, if the plays aren't being called correctly. Who knows what's going on, but there has been some issues. I will talk about Falcon real quick. I'm not going to try to say his last name. We just call him Falcon. He's a massive human. He's like 6'8", 330-ish. I mean, just a great big guy. He got a lot of potential with him, especially having Laumea, kind of as a mentor there. So I think he's someone to watch, later on, maybe next year. He still has 1 year, by the way. He's a junior. So does Laumea. I assume he'll enter the draft, though. So moving into the tight end position, Thomas Yasmin he's had a really tough year. He did have a big touchdown last week to give us the 7 points. That's the only points we scored all game, but maybe that was that kickstart that he needed. The tight ends have really been struggling in the blocking game too, the run block game. So hopefully we can clean that up over a couple weeks off, and moving into Cal, we can see some better production there. Kind of the same thing with Mickey Sugaturaga. He's converted over to a tight end this year. So just learning the position. I think he was a DN last year. Just learning the position. Obviously, there's been struggles in the run block game. He hasn't really seen too many passes in the passing game, just like any of our receivers. We just haven't been able to get him the ball. So now into the U tight end, which is Brant Keithy. Brant Keithy is, one of the best players on this offense if he can return. Obviously, he got hurt last year around this time, ACL injury. Still recovering from that. I know there's rumors out there as of today about, just take those with a grain of salt. We haven't heard anything from any of the staff about him not playing this year. I haven't heard it from anybody that I know who has kind of an inside source to the team. They haven't heard that. So just take that one with a grain of salt until we can see it. My honest expectation is that they've been kind of holding him, waiting for Cam to return to bring him back in as well, and they'll kind of come in as a group. That's my hope. I have no idea. That's purely conjecture on my part, but if that were to happen, it would be a significant boost to this offense. Landon King behind him, man, he's got a lot of talent. Transfer from Auburn this year. He just needs to put on a little bit more weight in the offseason to really settle in at that tight end position and get him involved in the run block game. But athletically, he is really someone to look forward to in the incoming years. Going to be a really good pass catcher, I believe. And he's kind of shown a few glimpses so far this year. All right, now the question everybody wants to know, Cam Rising. What's his status? Is he going to play? We kind of thought he was going to play the last couple games. So having a bye week and going against Cal, is this the time? We're at home. honestly, I think it's time. I think this is when Rising suits up and starts leading this offense, especially after what everyone saw last week with the offense just really struggling. You can see Nate Johnson is currently behind him. That's with another asterisk because I think coming into the year Nate Johnson was QB4, but we have other injuries with Brandon Rose in fall camp, and then Nate Johnson kind of bumped up to QB3 during the year here, which, eventually technically is QB1, but he bumped ahead of Bryson Barnes. And now, looks like Bryson had a pretty significant injury, not season ending from what I've heard, but we haven't heard from Whittingham speak. But yeah, he got his ribs beat up pretty bad on that very blatant cheap shot last week. That was a terrible play by that guy. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, but you know what? It's football. It happens. So hopefully we can move forward and get Rising back to really lead this offense. What he does so much better than what a redshirt freshman and Nate Johnson does is read the defense pre-snap, call the right audibles, and then post-snap be able to know exactly where to go with the ball based on what that defense does. So a lot of people say, how can this be fixed just with Cam coming back? I think that's a lot of it. I think he gets rid of the ball quickly. He makes quick split second and correct decisions, and he has the accuracy to deliver the balls to these receiving targets. And I really think we will see a huge improvement in the offense moving forward if that were to happen. Running back position, Jaquindon Jackson start off the year looking good. I mean, well, he didn't look great against Florida because he got dinged up. So I think he hurt his ankle a little bit in fall camp. Got dinged up a little bit in the Florida game. Luckily, they didn't have to use him that much. They were able to keep him on the sidelines. Looked great against Baylor. Also got dinged up in that game, though. Got dinged up against Weber State, and which ultimately, and then, I think that these setbacks continued happening. He's just not able to heal. He's not given the time. So ultimately he got dinged up again in UCLA, which took him out of the game. And we did not see him last game. So that leaves Jalen Glover, which is another asterisk on the second team here, because as we know, we lost Mekhi Bernard after the first week. And we'll talk about that here at the end of this, but he is out for the year. So Jalen Glover is now running back one. I'm hoping that JJ can get that time he needed to really get that good healing on his ankle through this this last week where he didn't play, into the bye week, into Cal. So we'll see what happens with him here in a week and a half now. Here's a highlight here. Just look at this. This is how many players are currently dinged up or have not played a snap all year. So obviously there's only three players here who haven't played a snap all year, which would be Johnny Maia, Brant Keithy, and Cam Rising. But if you just look across that board, this is a banged up offense. You have that many people down and not able to produce in an offense like this. It's going to be detrimental to the whole group. So we can just hope that we get guys back moving into the bye week, into Cal, and we don't need to be a phenomenal offense this year like we have in the past. I think we scored, it was either 36 or 38 points per game last year. I think it was 36, but we're down below 20, I believe, this year. I haven't looked at the latest after last game. So I think it's actually around like 16 or 18. But if we can just get to that 28 to 30 points per game with the defense we have, that's going to be a tough team to beat moving forward. So just to, get that offensive efficiency back up, it doesn't have to be what it was last year. Get it back up there, and we're going to see a lot of wins. So Um, that's the state of the offense. Now, here you can see there's only one player so far out for the season, and that's Mekhi Bernard after game one. Man, wish him the best. Really hated seeing him go down. He was the Swiss Army knife of that running back core, and probably the best running back in pass protection. That we really saw that last week with Glover in there. He's still learning. He's a true sophomore, so didn't get a ton of run last year, but ended up burning his red shirt, and still working on the pass protection, which he'll get. He made one really good block on a blitz last week, but missed a few others. Jaquinnon's also a really good pass protection back, so having him out really hurts. But having Bernard out, who is by far the best, and he's the best receiving running back that we had on this team. So we kind of lose that option a little bit, even though some of the other guys have shown some progress with their ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. But that's where we're at in the state of the offense. Let's go ahead and dive into the defense next. All right, so defensively, let's go through each position. I already have the first one up here. Connor O'Toole, left defensive end. He hasn't played a snap all year. He was injured in fall camp. It looked like he was going to maybe play last game, but he ended up not being able to get in there. So hopefully with a couple more weeks, we see him against Cal. I feel pretty confident with him. And you know what? We're going to need him as we move into the next guy, Logan Fano. For those who watched the game, it was just a terrible sight to see him go down. From what we've seen, from what he posted on social media, he did tear his ACL in his left knee. So now he has torn the ACL in both knees. He tore his right ACL his freshman year before he even played a game at BYU in spring camp. So I just hate to see that for that kid. He's worked so hard to get to this point, and he's been doing fantastic this year alongside Jonah Ellis, and I just it left a pit in my stomach watching that game. I mean, I assume all Ute fans feel the same, but one bright note is it was his non-surgically repaired knee, so maybe that'll help him, mentally move forward, knowing that the surgery has held up. It's done well. If it was the same knee, I could see there being some skepticism in his head, but he already has a really positive attitude about it. Let's hope he can recover to, attack physical therapy head on and come back and be a great defensive end for the Ute football team. Left defensive tackle, Junior Tafuna. He's been banged up most of the year. I think he's played in 3 games. It might be 2. He has been back the last 2, so that's a positive sign. He's a leader in the middle of that defensive line. We really missed him and Peppa, who I'm going to talk about next, for the first 3 games of the year. Peppa was also injured in fall camp. Actually, was it? Yeah, 3 games of the year that they missed. But he was injured in fall camp. Wasn't able to go until last week against UCLA, and then he did play also against Oregon State here. Having those two, solidify the center along with the next guy, Keanu Tanavasa. Yeah, it's just going to help with that defensive line. They've been great all year. So speaking of Tanavasa, he's a redshirt freshman, young kid. He has looked really well, especially getting after the quarterback from the interior of the line. They also put him out on the end once, and that was one of his sacks. He just kind of overpowered the right guard or right tackle. But he's played really well. I think that whole group is going to look good all season long. Hopefully we can get some offense to give them a breather now and then. They've been on the field a lot this year, so we have to think about that too. And there's David Fotu. He's back. He's backing up Tanavasa. He's looked pretty decent on the year as well. Our defensive line, I'm not worried about. Even losing Logan, it's terrible, but we're gaining one of our probably our best pass rushers back. He may not be the best now because Ellis is looking so good, but I'm not too concerned about that line. So as you can see here, this was kind of an earlier depth chart, which is one that I wanted to get to kind of display all the injuries. But you can see Ellis was actually not the the starting right defensive end, but now I'm pretty sure he has moved into that starting spot. Van Fillinger, he's been dinged up all year too. It's just been a struggle. He was injured last year. It was a season-ending injury after, I believe, 5 games. So I don't know if it's tied to that or if there was another injury that where he got hurt in camp. I'm not quite sure, but he hasn't been the Van we've seen in the past. Hopefully, he can come around and start stepping up and getting back into shape and doing what he does starting against Cal. Um, not him starting. Ellis is going to start, but beginning the Cal stretch. So let's move into our linebackers who have been pretty healthy for the most part this year. We did miss Karene Reed for game 2 against Baylor. We all saw him get hit in the Florida game. He was concussed pretty bad, so we did miss him. Justin Medlock has seen a little bit of action this year, and I have also been impressed with Medlock. I mean, he's another exciting player to watch. He's going to be a great Utah defender. Just a redshirt freshman, so a lot of good things there. Lavani Damouni in that max spot. He led Stanford in tackles last year. Team captain over there. Took a grad transfer over to Utah. That's where he's from. He's got cousins on the team. Really, he's one of those guys that's all over the field. He's an explosive player. Tons of energy, a motor that never stops. You're going to see him continue to rack up tackles this year, just like he's done so far. Sione Fotu, another young guy. He's been able to step up in some absences and looked pretty good as well this year. So excited about what we have moving forward, and the depth at linebacker is is one of the best that we have on the whole team. Then we go into Lander Barton, probably the best linebacker we have. Highly rated recruit out of high school. He's a leader. We watched him get that pick 6 a couple weeks ago, just reading the passing lane. He's really seeing the field now. Now that he's in his sophomore campaign, true sophomore. So continue to see him do really well, set the edge, attack the quarterback, pass defense. I mean, he's got it all. Calvert, we haven't seen a whole lot of Josh Calvert this year. He has the tools. I just think the guys ahead of him are going to get the majority of the playing time there. Now we go into some of the cornerbacks starting with into the defensive secondary, and Travis Broughton. He's been good all year as far as injuries are concerned. He's defended better than I think he did last year. Even a lot of people are going to talk about the cornerbacks and that they're getting burned. Well, it's kind of the style of defense that Utah plays. They are a very aggressive defense, and every once in a while you're going to get burned if the quarterback's able to get away from some of that pressure. So in man coverage, I think that they've done a fairly decent job. Behind him, Miles Battle, he transferred in from Ole Miss this last year. Wasn't necessarily a cornerback his whole career. He entered college as a wide receiver recruit. So he's still learning that a little bit. He really wanted to come to Utah to get in that man coverage scheme, display his skills a little better. So he's still learning on man coverage. We've watched him get beat. Everybody will remember the Baylor game, but he's also made big plays so far this year, and he's going to continue to get better. And we need that to happen against some of these high-powered passing offenses that we're about to see, in the latter half of the season. Strong safety, we've got Sione Vaki. I mean, you can't say enough about him. Young kid too, sophomore. He flies all over the field. He's got the it factor, makes a ton of plays. He's great in the box. I think he led the team in tackling last week. Continue to see Sione shine throughout this year. I can't wait to watch this defense play again. I mean, I was excited last week. Before the game, I could not wait to watch this defense because they're so good. Jonathan Hall, true freshman out of Katy, Texas. He's got a ton of skills as well. He's going to be someone to watch, as later on in his career too, next year and in the following years. But if something does happen this year, he's a very good true freshman to be able to step up into that role and play that position. So watch out for Jonathan Hall. And then Cole Bishop, he's an All-American candidate this year. He's making all the plays. He's got a couple of picks this year, several sacks already, a ton of tackles. I mean, he does it all. He's great in the box. He's proven that he can actually play pretty good pass defense out there at free safety. So he is 100% leader of this defense and just done phenomenal this year. So Nate Ritchie, he returned missionary, played great his freshman season, went on his mission. He's back. He's just not seeing a lot of playing time, and it's just due to the fact that Vaki and Bishop have been so dominant. So otherwise, I mean, Ritchie has a ton of skills. With Hall and Ritchie coming up behind Vaki and Bishop, a lot to be excited about for Ute fans. Plus, I don't know if y'all saw last night, but we just landed another high caliber safety commit in Davis Andrews out of American Fork. So that was a big win on the recruiting front. Side note there. Going over to the right corner, Zamiah Vaughn. Everybody had really high expectations of Zamiah this year. I think he's kind of fallen a little short of the expectations, but he hasn't played poorly. He's still got that length and speed to keep up with anyone out there. I think he's just got lost in coverage a few times, maybe overcommitting on a few occasions, but I think we'll continue seeing him progress back to where the level that he can play as we go into the second half of this season. So I'm not concerned about our defense at all. I'm not concerned about the cornerbacks. I know I've seen a lot on social media about that, but let's just see what happens the second half of this season. Our defense is going to continue to step up. Elijah Davis is behind him, redshirt freshman. We haven't really seen much of him either. I think he's gotten a little bit of playing time, but I could be wrong on that too. I don't recall seeing much of him. We have some really good cornerbacks that are true freshmen as well that are players that we really need to be excited about. Another young guy right here. He has looked fantastic this year in the nickel spot. It's Teo Johnson, redshirt freshman, probably the fastest guy on Utah's defense. He's graded out as the best pass defender on this team so far. He's looked fantastic. They've also kind of been starting to move him and switch out him and Vaki from nickel and strong in those nickel and strong safety positions, because they plan on the safety spot being Teo's true position, and Vaki plays so well up in the box that it does kind of make sense doing that. I think we'll continue to see a little bit of back and forth switching this year, trying to figure out what fit works best on who they're playing. If it's the team that's going to run the ball a lot, I think it makes sense making that switch, having Vaki in the box. If it's a passing team like we're going to see a lot of, I wouldn't be surprised to see Teo continue at nickel and then just leave Vaki at strong safety. Yeah. And then one of the true freshmen I was talking about behind him is Smith Snowden, Utah Football Player of the Year, his senior year of high school. He's a true freshman, very fast kid, kind of one of those 10-5, 100 type of type of runners. Really good football instincts. Good. He basically he does a great job seeing the field, reading the ball, and instinctually reading the ball, and that's a big thing. I don't think we're going to see Smith get burned very often. Can't wait to see that kid suit up. So now we're just going to highlight a few of the injuries. Obviously, on defense, there's a lot less that get highlighted here, and really there only would have been two had Fano not got hurt last week. But the two that I have highlighted on the first team, Connor O'Toole and Van Fillinger, I believe they will be back moving forward. So it's exciting. We did lose one key player and pop it up right here. So there's only one player lost for the season, and that was last week in Logan Fano. This defense is going to continue to be elite. They're going to be tested significantly, but you know what? I think we have the players and the depth to take that test head on and really achieve, have some success in doing so. So that's pretty much it with the defense. I'm really excited about the rest of this year. I think a lot of the Utah fans are really down on the team and the outlook for the season after last week. My only thoughts are, you know what? We're fine. This team's gonna recover. Defense is great. Offense is going to be getting a lot of the troops back. I truly believe that, and we'll be fine. I mean, yeah, it was a rough go, but you know what? We should be really excited to be 4-1 at this point because the way that the offense has played in at least 3 of the games this year very well could have been a disastrous start to the year. So to be 3-1 and have the only loss to be at Oregon State in Corvallis is fantastic. Looking at the year from the preseason, I saw a lot of people who kind of chalked this up as a loss, even with the thought of Cam and Keithy being in there. So to be where we're at, we're still fine. We're going to have a tough road ahead. Basically, I mean, we got to continue winning games. There's probably only one loss left in this team, if they want to compete for another Pac-12 championship game. So we're looking at USC on the road and we're looking at Washington on the road. Those are probably the 2 largest games on the slate. And then, let's not overlook Oregon coming into Rice-Eccles because Oregon's playing really well right now. So we have 3 extremely difficult games left on the schedule. But you know what? If we can continue to play hard-nosed defense and at least get an offense that is semi-productive, I see a lot of good things happening. So keep your chins up. Keep enjoying this team. Keep cheering for them. They need it more than they ever have right now, I would say, at this point. So with that said, appreciate y'all watching. This was an off bye week video that I wanted to throw together to basically, kind of the middle part of the season, not necessarily the middle of the season, but I wanted to put this together to basically outline where exactly we're at as far as the depth chart's concerned, moving towards the latter half of the year. But we're going to continue to put out videos. Come here for your Utah football content. Next week we'll have videos kind of previewing that Cal game. So be sure to look out for those. There should be other videos that the team is going to have rolling out this week. So like the video, share it with your friends, share it on Twitter or X or whatever you call it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I know we continue to get more subscribers, and we really do appreciate it, and we appreciate the support. But with that, everybody keep your head up and go Utes.